Here we are for round 12 of the 70s versus the 90s, and it's a country fried edition. We have Daryl Duke's Payday versus Christopher Cain's Pure Country. And this one was a hard one, kind of a wild card. So we'll just dive right in. We got Payday, which is about focuses around Rip Torn as a psychotic country singer, and it's a kind of a day in the life type thing. Basically, dude's on a bender. He's doing shows and stuff. Typical. He's on the come up basically, and being played on the radio a lot more. You see him bribing. It's kind of the ins and outs of that era of how like country singers had to come up. It was written by Don Carpenter, who co-produced it, and it's probably some shit somebody he knew, and kind of like an expose. They get a Canadian director to make it, and Rip Torn gives a phenomenal performance. It's just very intense, but the guy is a massive piece of shit, and but then again, so is a lot of the supporting cast. It's very kind of a series of moments type thing. You watch, how much more shitty can this get, and even then, it's not as shitty as it could get, not as compelling as it could get. The music in it kind of sucks, and then you got fucking just all this other shit, and the women in it are just treated extremely poorly. It just because the dude's drunk, popping pills. Don't tell him what other kind of chemicals he's ingesting and shit. But he's still doing his music. Just bullshitting around with life, and then finally fucking just strokes out and dies. Not to give away the ending, but in a way, kind of a perfect ending, but doesn't make a perfect movie because nobody fucking learned anything. It's just dude just dies. He gets essentially, does he get away with anything if he's dead? There's that existential question. But this is like a kind of a staple of how films were in the 70s, because it's like it was almost a way to get kind of a backdoor thing with like how pre-code was, or how the code was, where you had the only way you could do gangsters or fucked up complex individuals is they had to learn a lesson and shit. And so in a way, that's where they're still in uncharted territories in the 70s, is how to deal with these kind of characters. The only way they themselves can justify making a movie about such a deplorable human being is by fucking just having him die at the end, and make it like we're satisfied, but it's not a satisfying ending, because like I said, nobody fucking learned anything. And then here we flash forward to the 90s with Pure Country, with the great George Strait, the GOAT, doing his thing, basically his kind of his country fried version of Purple Rain, essentially. And and going, he is like one of the biggest ones, definitely the height of George Strait's career at the time, and fucking just kind of burn out with it, and he's got his, the supporting cast in this shit is phenomenal too. Leslie Ann Warren as his manager, and then, they get the Isabel Glazer's fucking phenomenal as the love interest, and, and the great character actor Roy Calhoun, and fucking in the John Doe from the band X as his drummer in this. Shit's fucking, the woman that plays his grandmother in the movie is phenomenal. And it's just, you see like this kind of movie's been done a million fucking times, where it's like, the artist struggle. He gets burnt out on being so famous and all this acclaim and all this shit. He's got to go back to his roots, but it is done so in a way that's very well written. It's not as full of shit as you want to believe. It's not done as an expose or anything. It's a really like good old boy type fucking thing. Dude just says fuck it, tired of the bullshit, and just walks, and just ends up finding what he had lost all those fucking years. And then on top of that, though, what always stuck out with me was the fact that nobody is irreplaceable, because it's like, no matter how fucking valuable you think you are, you can find some other swinging dick to fill your spot, and that's what fucking Leslie Ann Warren does, and fucking puts fucking Kyle Chandler in there fucking to lip sync and shit, which, is fucked up, and it's easy to paint the bitch as a villain, but if on the show must go on type shit. You had obligations, you got mouths to feed. And what's beautiful about Pure Country is, it's there's a love story in it, but it's not so much about the love story. The real love story is with the music. And the music in this is fucking phenomenal. Blows fucking Payday right out of the water on that one. Like it just starts with a bullet. You just fucking just feel that shit. And the whole thing with, he learns, he deals with the love, and all that shit. But he also learns that fucking, entertainment's a fucking business, it ain't all about your art. And on top of that, fuck, at the end of the day, bro, you only have like 1, 2 or 3 more shows left on this fucking tour, bro. You could have waited to do your fucking soul search later and not hold shit up, So it's like everybody in the movie understands that we all fucked up. We all could have did something better. And that's where Payday falters. Everybody just thinks they knew everything fucking thing, and nobody ever admitted they were wrong. They just want to see how far they go to get away with it. But hell, the point is, pure country, the chickens come home to roost all the time. Probably what that old lady would have told you if you asked her and shit. And John Doe is his friend. That shit's fucking, that's real ass shit. Because this dude just goes on his little walkabout and shit. He knows his homie. So everything's very cleverly written. As far as like this kind of 90s cheese, if you will. But, George Strait makes it plausible. But the thing about it is, where like Payday is only like good because of Rip Torn. Great playing a fucking psycho. Nobody else in that movie is good. Everybody else is just a fucking joke. Most of them are TV actors. And, just no strong women characters. You got 2 strong women characters in Pure Country. Because, like, fuck, Leslie Ann Warren's a boss fucking bitch. She does her thing. She made this motherfucker. She can break this motherfucker. But at the end of the day, she knows he's right. So it's like, who... Everybody knows, everybody learns something in this movie. It's fucking beautiful, Never forget that art is a fucking business, Fucking entertainment comes first. That's what pays the bills. Your art fucking, wait. Fucking soul search and shit, Show must go on. And then that ending, where he wins her over with the song, it's great. It's my only complaint is that they don't kiss. In the you finally win her, you don't kiss. That's the big thing, the payoff. But I get why, George Strait, he's a good old boy. He's not an actor, he's a country star, so I can excuse it for that, I can't fault it. So, honestly, I probably got to give it to Pure Country this round because, it's a really solid movie, because even the romance ain't even that fucking cheesy. Everybody stumbled into pussy when you're drunk, and so it's like, hey, you fucking around, fall in love sometimes, all of this shit is very fucking plausible. It's very, like, nothing is out of hand. Just the fact that people is, fuck, you got mouths to feed. Let's not forget what we're fucking doing here. It all comes down to fucking, it's a business. You got to understand, but you also never can lose sight of yourself, so it's a really good balance. I fucking, yeah, it's Pure Country this round. So for those of you motherfuckers that are keeping score, that is 7-5 70s. So that's, the 90s are coming back, it looks like, which I predicted they would. It's going to be so closer than anybody wants to admit, closer than I want to admit. This one was definitely a surprise because I figured, this shit would end so cheesily. I'd give it to Payday because it has that fucking just perfect ending of like, just kill the motherfucker or let him die. So pointless, but yet it's so lifelike. But the thing of it is, the fucking side characters are so good in Pure Country. George Strait isn't even the best part of the movie. Now, his music, yes, probably the best part of the movie, but the side characters are fucking just incredible. The grandmother and all, and John Doe is his friend. It's just perfect movie. I'll give it that. There's little nitpicky flaws, but it's not, sensationalist shit. You can have a love story without kissing in it, shit, I guess, fuck anything. It is PG, there's kissing it have to go up a PG-13 rating. So 7-5 70s. 70s still are up, but it looks like the 90s are coming back. And next week we have The Outlaw Josie Wales versus Unforgiven. So that one should just be even more of a wild card than this one, because I have no dog in the fight. And also, if anything I have said is wrong or you disagree with something or, whatever, you fuck with what I'm doing, comment. I don't give a shit. I'll address all of them. I don't care. And if you got any suggestions, I got fucking matchups going till who knows when. It's going to be every single one. I'm going to fucking, going Because who knows? I have no life. Fuck it. Who gives a shit? But yeah, this is my doctoral thesis. 7.5, 70s, 90s are coming back. So we'll see. Next week, Outlaw Josie Wales versus Unforgiven.